So one time I was hella constipated and hadn't been able to poop for a few days. It finally struck me that it was doing a turtle and I needed to get the fucker out. Sadly, the closest toilet was a public one. So there I was pushing a baby's arm out of my arse when I realized it was too big. Time to shove in a finger and make it a little more reasonable. Did that for a bit till it came. The devil seal released and an absolute torrent of shit flew into existence. The pain nearly made me pass out, but man did it feel good. Overall 8/10 wouldn't do again.
My dog got a treat every time he pooped outside, so somehow he figured out that he could scam treats from us by fake pooping. Getting into the poop position and holding there for a believable 20 seconds, facing us so we couldn't see that nothing was coming out of his butt, then doing the happy poopy dance and running up the stairs with the feed me face.
I love your dog. I've got one. When I was 7, my brother and I took a hike through the woods at a campground that we would visit a few times a year as a family. I mentioned that I suddenly had to go while we were crossing a shallow creek. Since we were a 15-minute walk from a restroom, he convinces me to go there. I found a convenient spot on top of a big fallen tree and let it happen. Fast forward about 6 months and it is now October and we're at the same campground. We joke about the turd still being there and decide to back to the creek and search for it. Sure enough, it was petrified and sitting in the same spot where I left it. 6 months later, we found it again. It must have happened at least 2 more times after that. We would always go look for the turd. Shit is so funny when you're a kid. When my twins were toddlers and just out of diapers, they frequently had synchronized bowels. It happened more than once that they both had to poop while we were at the grocery store. Problem was, there was only one toilet, so I'd stick them both on the toilet back to back and let them poop away simultaneously. Was taking my wife to the doc, as she was pregnant and felt the urge on the elevator ride. Seeing as it was a public place, I was a bit hesitant to use the facilities, but that it was an OBGYN office, I figured the men's room would be pretty clean. Drop a nice 12-inch Urana one wipe. One of those shits that you skip out of the stall. It was magic. July 22nd. Told the father-in-law about it because he's a cool guy. A couple years later, he writes a happy anniversary text to me. I thought this guy was the coolest for that. I go home to tell the wife that her dad sent me a happy anniversary text for the tremendous shit I took at her appointment that one day. Nope. It was our wedding anniversary. I've got 2. You decide which one is better. Both happened while I ran a mental health hospital. One. A child was showering and pooped in a tub shower. He tried to waffle the turds down the drain. It clogged the drain and turned his shower into a turd bath that was filling up. A staff could smell this steamy fuck up coming out of the shower room into where the rest of the patients were hanging out. The pooper got so embarrassed that everyone found out that he was doing that he got restrained. 2. Another patient was a 300-pound man-child. The kid clogged a 4-inch commercial plumbing line. The turd was the size of a man's arm up to his elbow, sticking straight up out of the water. Literally no exaggeration. A staff started flushing the toilet to get it to go down, and when the turd fell and snapped in half, it splashed water into the staff's mouth. Hilarity ensued when the staff started throwing up. This happened when I was 17. My family and I were on the way back from a little day trip. We were about an hour away when I started getting the shivers. I asked my dad to exit the freeway so I could use a restroom. It was around 10 p.m. and right off the exit was an El Polo Loco. My sister and her boyfriend were snickering while my dad parked the car. I walked up to the door but found it locked, which was weird since the employees were still inside along with a few customers finishing their meals. The guy emptying the trash bins opened the door and said, "We're closed." I told him I just needed to use the restroom really quickly and he just closed the door and said, "Sorry, we're closed, can't help you." Now normally I would just find another place to go. But this asshat laughed at the other employees as soon as he turned around after shutting the door on me. Never mind the fact that I was prairie dogging it pretty terribly at this point. My mom got out of the car and asked what happened, and I told her there wasn't time to explain. I went around to the side of the restaurant and took the biggest shit next to the dumpster. My mother, being the loving and prepared for everything woman she is, comes through with baby wipes so I could clean up. Of course at this moment I'm embarrassed and I'm just waiting for the torment from my sister and future brother-in-law. I get back into the car and everyone is dead quiet. I'm humiliated. Then my Bill just says, "Your mom said not to say anything or bring it up," but that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. That guy is gonna have a shitty time when he takes out that trash. We still laugh about it today. He tells me it's his second favorite story of me, the first being the time in the Philippines when we walked by a hair salon and all of the Bakla hairdressers stopped what they were doing to walk to the window to diddle me with their eyes. Got one from about a year ago that I still remember. Hell, how could I forget? Here's a copy and paste. I think the original comment was about a poop standoff where you wait for the other person to leave so you can poop peacefully but they are waiting for you to leave. I forget what airport it was or where I was going. Other than those small details, I remember it vividly. I was dropping a dangler at the airport the other day and a guy bursts into the stall next to me and proceeds to annihilate his assigned receptacle. All I heard was the door close, a belt dangle, an ass hit the seat and then the echo of the fart resonating off the commode, apparently the same exact frequency that triggers giddy laughter, and a split second later simultaneously, what I can only imagine by the sound of it, a plug of solid excrement being forced out of his body at several feet per second followed by a steady stream of not so solid excrement exiting with similar speed. From the time he entered the stall to the time the stream had stopped was maybe 3 seconds. All that sound and fury in the forefront, a massive sigh of relief in the background. I think at that point a poop standoff is irrelevant. When I was working as a trial guide, my co-worker, I know, it's not my story, was leading a group and I was bringing up the rear. She stopped explaining about a type of wildflower mid-sentence and just says, "I must go," as she told it. She ran off into the woods a suitable distance from our group, didn't even have time to pull out her little folding shovel and just went onto the pine needles. When she found relief, she looked up to find a grizzly also finishing its business about 15 feet away. I guess it was a bonding moment. I drank too much sugarcane juice when I was in Morocco and had to seriously go now. But the walk was about half a mile. It was the most intense butt-clenching walk I ever made. When I finally made it to the bathroom I was so relieved to see actual toilets and not a hole in the ground I almost cried. I shut the door and thank God I checked for TP before relieving myself. There was none. In any of the stalls. I was going to run to a nearby restaurant for napkins when I saw an old lady posted up at the entrance of the bathroom. I was in such a rush to go I didn't even notice her when I ran in. This little hustler collected all the TP from the bathroom and was selling it back. I didn't care. I threw all my change at her, grabbed a roll and had the best shit ever. I will never forget it. After a month or so of eating entire 8 packs of frozen burritos in one sitting, probably 5 days a week, along with lots of other bottom shelf Walmart food, I was pushing my anus to its limit every 48 hours. One day I was walking out of a meeting with an account over an hour from home when I felt it rumble. For a short time I thought I could make it home, but the optimism vanished after less than 5 minutes. With only seconds to spare I found a McDonald's and did a penguin-like waddle inside. I was prepared to physically remove anyone or anything that was obstructing my path. But thankfully that wasn't necessary. What I found was nothing short of paradise. An empty bathroom that was as clean as you could expect a McDonald's bathroom in the Bronx to be, and it has a spacious handicap stall. I stretched my anus so much that it took almost a full minute to retract. During the time I could feel the cool air making its way deep inside of me. It felt quite refreshing, to be honest. When I finally caught my breath, I emerged from the bathroom standing tall and proud.
At the probation office for a UA, had drank a fair amount of pickle juice to try and mask the numerous substances that she would surely find. Halfway up the 4 flights of stairs, and I have to fart. That's where things went terribly sideways. Ended up shitting half a quart of still green pickle juice down both legs, little puddles on each step, all the way to the bathroom. Had to use my boxers to clean myself as best I could. So as I sat waiting to take my UA, no drawers, no socks, smelling like shitty pickles, my very attractive probation officer walks around the corner to call my name. And I'm terrified she'll smell me. Luckily she didn't get close enough. Needless to say I failed for 4 of the 5 panel test. Thankfully she had a heart and didn't violate me, but sent me to counseling. One time at work I took a crap and when I looked in the bowl I was fucking in shock. This turd was as thick as my wristband and went all the way down the bowl and the end was about an inch away from the rim. It was huge. I was proud of this one so I didn't even flush. I throw the toilet paper in another toilet because I didn't want to cover it. My office is close to the bathroom. I was able to watch people come and go. One guy came out laughing his ass off and stood outside the bathroom like a tour guide trying to get people to look at it. He managed to get this very pretty young lady to go in. She also came out laughing. Rumor started that another lady went in there and left the turd.